Welcome to the ScreenCrush Break Room. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in The Bad Batch, Episode 8. The episode is titled Reunion, which refers to Crosshair reuniting with his former squad members. But it's also a reunion for fans of the Clone Wars and the baddest bounty hunter in the verse, Cad Bane.
Cad Bane at your service. I'll take on any job for the right price.
Yes, I'm very excited that Cad Bane is back. He's the #1 Clone Wars character I wanted to see return in the show, second only to Hondo.
Kenobi!
If you have a favorite Clone Wars character you'd like to see in the show, please let me know down in the comments. Crosshair is leading a squad of clones mixed with regular troopers that we saw recruited in Episode 3. Now in that episode I theorized that one of the new troopers could have been a much younger Admiral Zara. She was the protege of Grand Moff Tarkin, and now she's a central villain in the new Star Wars comics. She's a great character and one of my favorites added to the canon in years. And we didn't get any confirmation that any of these troopers is Zara, but 3 of them are voiced by women, so we'll see. Turns out Crosshair's name is appropriate because his primary duty is now to track the Bad Batch and keep them in his crosshairs. Wouldn't have been the same if, like, Tech or Wrecker joined the Empire. The squad is hiding out on the junkyard planet Braca, which first appeared in the game Jedi Fallen Order as a hiding place for former Padawan Cal Kestis. The look of the scrappers in this episode even matches the designs that we see in the game. In fact, the markings on this scrapper identify her as an important character from Fallen Order. This is your mom. Crosshair cuts in on a heated discussion between Rampart and Nala Se. Rampart, you'll remember, is the Imperial officer responsible for registering everyone with a space social security number. And Nala Se has appeared in several Clone Wars episodes as a chief administrator of Cameo. Now the room they're in is very interesting, filled with star charts, like this is a central hub where they plan the deployment of clone troopers during the war. Notice that all of the chairs are very tall, implying they are normally for the Kaminoans. This seems like a small detail, but it informs us a lot about this scene. The Kaminoans are desperately trying to keep the Empire as a client, but the Empire, through Tarkin and now Rampart, is trying to assert greater control over the Kaminoans, which is why he says,
I'm to be apprised of all matters here, Prime Minister.
Now the Empire has invaded one of the Kaminoan control centers, a place only meant for their ruling council, judging by these seats. Of course, the Kaminoans are keeping Omega's true nature a secret from the Empire, so they're also trying to keep the Empire at arm's length, while remaining on their payroll. Nala Se even says as much to Lama Su.
The Empire's mission on Braca poses a threat to our contingency plan.
It's a delicate balance that's not going to end well for them. We know that in just a few years, humans like Han Solo will be recruited into the regular infantry. And the clones will be phased out. Meanwhile, Wrecker is teaching Omega how to disarm a bomb. The show's done such a great job of making Wrecker seem like an imbecile loose cannon, I really thought that he was teaching her with live ammo.
You think I let you train with a live explosive?
Wrecker also mentions,
I failed my first disarming test too.
Now one interesting aspect of the Clone Wars is that the clones weren't born with fighting skills, and knowledge wasn't implanted in their heads when they slept.
I'm kind of home tutored in a box my pop made. It sometimes gets very hot in the box. My pop made.
In the terrific Clone Wars episode Clone Cadets, we actually see Fives and others train, as they're afraid of being washed out and, I guess, presumably recycled into food for the other clones.
Silent breed is people!
The comm sound is the same as the one the clones used in the prequels.
Hunter.
They name drop a Dianaga, the monster that they escaped from last episode. This is also the same dumpster diving beast that almost killed Luke in A New Hope.
Something just moved past my leg.
Hi there! It's interesting that Omega opens the episode with a teaching moment, because in a way, the Bad Batch are all still learning. Biologically, they're still the age of children. The show frames them very much as teenagers who've been kicked out of their parents' house and have to learn how to earn a living for the first time in their lives.
Just a few of those weapons should clear our debt with Sid.
I know The Bad Batch isn't a Star Wars movie, but I like to give it the big screen Star Wars experience. So I watch it on my brand new Nebula Capsule 2 limited edition R2-D2 projector, the sponsor of this week's video. Isn't that right, R2? He really makes that startup sound, it's so cool. This projector is the most legitimately cool thing that I own. It's a portable pocket cinema featuring Android 9.0. You can personalize it with over 5,000 apps like Hulu, Twitch, Disney Plus, and so many more. So you can watch Star Wars on Disney Plus or ScreenCrush on YouTube. This little guy is totally portable. The speakers are built in and the battery will run for 2.5 hours. It's great for backyard movies, bedtime, or even sheet forts. It also supports Chromecast, so you can project your phone to the screen. It easily connects to your smartphone and supports Google Assistant. It also looks cool and fits right in with my other Star Wars collectibles. And they're offering ScreenCrush fans a huge exclusive discount, $200 off. They're marking it down from $699 to $499. And take it from me, this little guy is worth every penny. Just click the link in the description, enter the discount code, and buy this amazing all-in-one home theater. But this offer expires on Sunday, June 20th at midnight Pacific Coast time. That's in just 2 days. So if you want this deal, act fast. Back to the Easter eggs. There's one thing that bothered me about the last episode. Echo and Rex meet, and there's no acknowledgement of their long friendship. The same was true in this episode when it seemed like he only saw Rex as a ride off the planet.
If we'd left with Rex, we wouldn't have to owe Sid at all.
Or maybe this is just who Echo is now. He's part machine, and maybe the Techno Union traumatized him so much that he's lost some of his sentimentality.
Wow.
Echo.
Never really did come home, did he?
I loved when the show took a moment to breathe and let Omega look out at the wreckage of the ships, trying to imagine what the Clone Wars could have been like. Seeing those ships reminds us of the scale of the Clone Wars. The Galactic Civil War from the original movies was actually a fairly small conflict, at least until the very end. It had to ramp up to that point. For most of the war, it was a cat and mouse game of a much larger force chasing down a ragtag band of rebels. But the Clone Wars was an enormous mobilization of firepower and machinery that devastated the galaxy, and we can see the result of that here. Omega's question,
what was the war like?
is a human question, asking for the meaning, the feeling in history. But Tech can't express himself in that way.
It was a primary mission objective, comprised of battles on various fronts.
But moments like this show us why the Bad Batch need Omega. They're teaching her how to survive, but she's teaching them how to be human. Omega, despite her name, also represents a new generation and new possibilities for the clones. She's becoming one of my favorite characters on the show, and Tech is my least favorite. He ignores the proximity alarm, just like he ignored Wrecker's headaches.
It's most likely a short circuit. You alright?
Yeah, it's nothing.
According to Sid's intel, the Zygerian slave traders are...
Tech is like a really smug 13-year-old boy who thinks he knows everything because he watches YouTube videos all day, but he's actually a dumbass. Back on Cameo, the Kaminoans revealed that they actually hired the bounty hunters.
We already have someone handling matters.
As long as one of these bounty hunters deliver the young clone intact, that is all that should concern us.
And I think we all assumed this before, but this is our first actual confirmation. Later, Omega tries to reason with Crosshair by recalling events from episode 1.
The Kaminoans put chips in all the clones. Remember what I told you in the brig?
What do you know?
I know it's not your fault. You can't help it.
The Arabesh letters here are a bunch of gibberish, while the letters here say charging emergency power. The Batch run into a flame trooper. Now, if this is a clone, then we first saw these troopers in the Clone Wars episode landing at Point Range. But we first saw Imperial flame troopers in the Jedi Fallen Order game. I love the sequence of the squad escaping through the bows of the ship. It did a great job conveying the scale of the war. It was all very reminiscent of Rey's first appearance as a scrapper on Jakku. Did this line...
It'd be weirder if you had.
...make anyone else think of this line?
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
The charges they place on the engine have a red ignition ring like we've seen before in The Force Awakens. And then, oh yeah, we get to the best. The greatest bounty hunter from the Clone Wars series is back, Cad Bane. If you haven't seen the Clone Wars, Cad Bane is ruthless. He has experienced kidnapping too. In one Clone Wars episode, he kidnaps Force-sensitive babies for Darth Sidious. Bane has always been based on Clint Eastwood, particularly the character Blondie from The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. There's the hat, the iconic duster, and even his toothpick is a stand-in for Eastwood's cigar. In the Man with No Name trilogy, Eastwood always plays a bounty hunter, just like Cad Bane. Even the score in this scene recalls Ennio Morricone's classic final duel in The Good and the Bad and the Ugly. The sequence is staged with all the tropes from a classic Western duel. The long pauses, close-ups of the faces, the holsters. It's all great. Bane's droid is a techno service droid named Toto 360. And it's voiced by Seth Green. Green is a massive Star Wars fan, and he's created some of the best Star Wars comedies of all time.
What do you mean they blew up the Death Star? Oh, Who's they? What the hell is an aluminum falcon?
And of course, Cad Bane wins the duel. Was there ever a doubt? Notice that Omega's comlink here is the same version that C-3PO uses in A New Hope. Crosshair receives really bad burns from the jet engine.
Yes, he's down now. Is he dead? No, not dead. No, burnt. Badly.
This is much like another villain who turned against his own people, Anakin Skywalker. Crosshair's breathing mask is even meant to evoke Vader's, but it's also more like the mask that Omega and Hunter wore in Episode 3, and that Han kept on the Millennium Falcon.
I just got this bucket back together. I'm not gonna let something tear it apart.
Oh, then I'm going with you.
When Hunter awakes, we see events from his point of view, like a first-person video game. This is a neat way to show his disorientation and to make me want to play Battlefront. In fact, when Hunter wakes up, the sound is identical to the switch-on sound we hear in the Republic Commandos video game.
Welcome, little one. This is your first...
Thanks, Marine Man Matt from Twitter, for that one. Now I've got theories for potential spoilers. I love that Crosshair is being given kind of a villain origin story. I'm sure you remember that he was a member of the Bad Batch until the Empire activated his control chip. Someone on Twitter, and I wish I could remember who, suggested to me that maybe they'll remove Crosshair's chip, but he'll still decide to stay with the Empire. I mean, he's always been a bit of a dick.
Hunter let that Jedi kid escape. Or do you want to keep lying to us?
I think his tendency toward discipline and violence is one of the reasons he was more susceptible to the control chip. How great would it be if Crosshair wasn't a friend who needed redemption, but instead was the Bad Batch's greatest threat? Well, that's all the Easter eggs that I found, but if you found any, let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.